Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Dino King set from the Transformers Legacy United line from Hasbro. This was this year's Hasbro Pulsecon exclusive for Transformers, and I am really excited for this. We're getting a few more victory characters here. Dino King, of course, is a repaint / remold of the core class Volcanicus. You can see here, we'll do some comparisons with this guy a little bit later on in the video, but it just makes so much sense to remold that into Dino King here. Now, he's going to be pretty small in comparison to Deathsaurus or Starsaber. Again, we'll take a look at that later on in the video, but I'm still really excited for this. You know, anything more from Victory. Still need Landcross, still need Road Caesar, still need Leo Zarek. Come on, Hasbro, make it happen. Future Hasbro HasLab ideas. I'd like to see it. But Dino King is composed of 6 Decepticons here. We have Goryu, Doryu, Yokuryu, Gairyu, Kakuru, and Ryuryu. So as you can see, they all end in Ryu, which is the Japanese word for dragon, but yet sometimes used for dinosaurs, since dinosaur is Kyoryu. So they all have Ryu in their name. But yeah, really excited for this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And also just this packaging here, you know, such a throwback to the gift sets of the old days with the grid, you know, packaging design and everything like that. You got Dino King over here. You got the 6 guys here in the window. I just absolutely love everything about this. I think it looks so cool. Up here you can see Dino King and then these 6 team members here in both forms. I think that looks really good. Not too much going on down here, just the usual warnings and whatnot. Pretty much the same picture from the top over here on the side, and then on this side as well. If we switch around to the back, you have the Legacy United picture over here with an old school tech spec. I think that's really cool. I'll zoom in there so you can check that out. Really going with this throwback packaging, and I absolutely love it. And then again, we have the 6 members and Dino King over here on the side. So definitely keeping this box. Really, really looks good. I'm really excited for this one. Gonna go ahead, get everyone out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. All right, so here is the Dino Force out of the packaging here. They look absolutely fantastic. I also think it's funny that Dino Force literally translates from Japanese Kyoryu Sentai, so that's just fun as well. But I think it's just really funny, like, with Guyu always being an Ankylosaurus, like the writing was on the wall from day one that this set was going to get made into Dino King, and they just did it as the Dinobots first, which I just think is so funny. But these came out great. Honestly, I'm really happy with them. I'm going to go through, I kind of wanted to show all 6 of them together, and then I want to kind of do direct comparisons of each one with their Dinobot counterpart. And then, of course, we'll get into transformation and formation of Dino King and everything. There's definitely some improvements and things that they've included here that I think make this set vastly superior to Volcanicus. But yeah, these just really came out. I love seeing them together. Of course, I wish they had their Pretender shells, but that was never going to happen. But these definitely came out great. I'm pretty happy with them. So, of course, we will start out first with Guyu, as he is the leader of the group. I think they did a really nice job here. It is, of course, the same mold as Grimlock. Not really much has changed, and just to show that off, here is Grimlock in Dino mode, side by side. You can see it is the same molding, obviously just with a different paint scheme. But I wanted to just kind of show them off side by side there. You can even see, like, you know, you have the Autobot Decepticon symbol corresponding in the same place there. So, really nicely done. I think it worked out pretty well. Let's move him off to the side. Basically, you have the head articulation in this mode. You do have the ball joint that will become the shoulder in the robot mode, but that is present here in the leg, as well as a swivel there. And that's pretty much it. There's not really a ton of articulation in the Dino mode, but very cool. I think he looks absolutely fantastic. Now, Guyu does have this giant club as his weapon, and if you would like, you can fold out this little spot right here, which can be a little difficult to do, but if I can get this peg out of here, there we go. You can store this on here like so, and just kind of have this rest in this area. If you like the look of that, I think it looks a little garish. That's just me, but it is absolutely storable there. So let's go ahead and get into his transformation. All right, so I've gone ahead and removed the club, but I have kind of left this piece here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this little tail piece put that off to the side, and then you can go ahead and just pop the legs down. The arms, really, you're just going to rotate these pieces off to the side, like so. Then you're going to split this section down the middle here, and put those out to the side. And already you can see that absolutely beautiful head sculpt. It looks so good. I like to take this piece and rotate it all the way down. It's just me personally. Now, you have a couple of options here with these pieces. Now, traditionally, like with Grimlock, you would just bring this whole piece down, and these would kind of be wings on the back. Guyu doesn't really have that, so the directions kind of want you to rotate these down, and then they kind of hang down here in the armpit area. It's really up to your preference. You do have, and I will say that's one thing with this set, you can customize it a little bit, and you'll see what I mean, but I don't follow the directions 100% stringently because I like to move some things around for a little better effect, but it's up to you. If you want these to hang down like this, because traditionally Guyu does not have wings like Grimlock does, if you want to bring these up and just have them have wings like Grimlock does, that's up to you. You could even kind of try to tuck them back a little bit. You could kind of do something like that. It's up to you. You have options. So I kind of usually just kind of tuck it back a little bit like that, so they're not full-on wings, but it's a little better. But either way, here is Guyu, and that head sculpt is just on point. That is absolutely perfect. It can turn from side to side. I think they did such a good job with that. I love the silver here with the Decepticon symbol. That looks really sharp. You do, of course, have this ball joint here in the shoulder, as well as that wrist swivel that I showed you off earlier. That was really just to move the feet around. You do have a waist swivel down here. There we go. You have a ball joint in the hip. Pretty good range of movement there. Technically, it is a ball joint in the knee, so if you needed to spin this around, but it's honestly pretty difficult to do. I don't really know if I can spin it from side to side, so I'm just going to use it as a knee bend, but then the leg is one solid piece, so nothing in the ankle or anything like that. But again, it is a core class figure, but I just think he looks great. I really, really like this. Of course, we can give him his club back, which was his signature weapon in the anime. And then, of course, he also has the tail piece. Now, they've actually painted the inside of it so that when you flip it over, it does look like a gun. It is still blast effect compatible, which is nice. But it was green on this side, and now it's painted to look like a gun on this side, which is something that Grimlock did not have. If we bring him back in robot mode now, you can see it's, again, very much the same mold, but you can see the paint there on the inside of the gun. I think that makes a huge difference, and I love the inclusion of the club weapon. So it's really nice. I think they did a good job with this. Like I said, it's really just figuring out what you want to do with these pieces here, whether you want them to hang down, you want them to be up here. That is up to you, but that head sculpt is phenomenal, and I think Guyu came out just perfectly. Next up, we're going to take a look at Ryu, and just because I want to get him out of the way, unfortunately, this mold is still the worst in the set. I guess there wasn't really anything they could do to fix this. It's a decent color scheme. I mean, the gold paint looks nice. The red eyes look pretty good. You have a little bit of gold here. This plastic is done in like a gunmetal gray, and then you have white over here for the legs. It's the same sludge mold. You know, it's the same. It's just, it's not good, and it's such a shame because Sludge is one of my favorite Dinobots, and they really just did him dirty in this set, and that's just unfortunate. But yeah, it's the same. It's the same mold. Now there is one caveat. You do have these feet pieces, which look like this when they are feet, but they look like missile launchers on the other side, and you can attach them. And so you can put these massive missile launchers on the back of this. It helps it a little bit. I mean, it looks ridiculous, but I kind of love it. And I do think it helps a little bit. Unfortunately, you know, the Brontosaurus mode just wasn't good. The robot mode's not much better. We'll get there in a moment. But these are kind of cool. I kind of like these gigantically ridiculous... or ridiculously gigantic. In any case, they're big, they're silly, I kind of love it. Alright, so transformation is same as Sludge if you remember how to do that. You're going to take the head, pop that down, you're going to rotate this section down as well. You're going to split the hands and arms and rotate them out to the side. Kind of move this up so that you can spin this section around like so, and then just split the legs and then fold this all the way down. So there you go. I will say again, head sculpt looks good. I like that. Nice Decepticon symbol there. He's very white in this section though, which is a little boring. And again, it's just not a good mold. Unfortunately, you have these tiny arms over here, which do have a ball joint, and the head can spin from side to side. And you do have that kind of mid-waist, midsection swivel there. But then these legs are not really attached. Like this skirt flips up, but the ball joint is here because it's needed for the ball joint / ratchet. I guess it's really more of a ratchet, not a ball joint, if we move the arm out of the way. Because that has to be the main hip of Dino King. And so this robot mode suffers for it, but it is in a service to a greater good, we'll say. But yeah, there is the robot mode. Again, bringing in Sludge for comparison. You can see it's exactly the same, just painted differently with a new head. But again, you do have these giant rocket launchers, and they have a little peg here underneath that can flip out. And then you can peg these onto the arms like so. They never want to go the first time. I've done this a couple times now, and they like to move around as I try to peg them in. But once you get them in, he does have giant rocket launchers on his arms, which is kind of cool. So again, it helps a little bit. It doesn't solve all problems, but it's kind of neat, and it does help a little bit. Up next, we have Guyu. Not a ton different from his Dinobot counterpart. And I'll be honest, I've completely forgotten this guy's name. But as you can see, it's mostly just a paint job. Not really too much here. This piece has definitely been remolded a little bit. The little arm connection / tail piece here was a little dinkier on the Dinobot version. And they have given it a little bit more love. And it definitely feels more seamless from the rest of the Dino body. So I do appreciate that. Also, there is a hinge here, as well as what will be a wrist swivel for Dino King, so that's nice. So they've definitely improved upon it in that respect, so I do appreciate that. But just to show you the two of them next to each other, not terribly different. Not really much in terms of articulation. I mean, the legs can kind of move around a little bit, and that's pretty much it. It's the same on both sides. Again, I guess technically you could spin the tail like this if you wanted to, and you can technically spin the wrist and move this up. But again, that articulation is not really meant for Dino mode, but it's there if you want it. But yeah, that's pretty much little Dino mode for Guyu. Transformation is pretty simple. Going to go ahead and just pop off the tail section here. You're going to grab a hold of this whole section and flip this around. Now, the directions want you to kind of click the legs up in this area here. But what I don't get is there's very clearly a little tab there, and there's very clearly a little tab slot right there. So I always just push them all the way down like this. Again, there's customization available with this set. If you want to pop them up here like the directions tell you, you can. But I feel like they're in the way. I don't know why you wouldn't just push them all the way down like so. So that's what I'm going to do. This I like to kind of flip out to about here, but don't push that all the way down yet. Let me zoom out here a little bit. You can flip the dino head back. You're going to separate the arms and kind of bring them out to the side so that you have room to spin the waist 180 degrees. And then you can kind of flip this piece all the way down and flip this all the way down, and then kind of push these up just to get them out of the way. And then you kind of have to like rock this back. The ball joint on these arms is super tight. I'm hoping over time that'll loosen. But there we go. There is Guyu. And he looks good. I think this color scheme really works. I really like the dark gray with the dark green. The head sculpt looks phenomenal. Really nicely done there. He's got a bit of a smirk, which I love. Very tiny little Decepticon symbol there. Head can swivel from side to side. You have kind of a butterfly joint there because of the transformation. And then again, you have these tight little ball joints here for the shoulder. But the arms are one solid piece, so no movement there. You do have a waist swivel, which is nice. It doesn't even get in the way of this piece. I mean, it will kind of hit, but if you need to, you can always rotate this back up if you need to get more movement out of the waist there. You do have a ball joint here in the hip, so you can kick pretty far out to the side, front, and back. You have a ball joint here, so you could spin this around technically if you wanted to. but then from the knee down is one solid piece. And then he has this, which you can pop into his hand and then rotate the wrist around 180 so that the gun is on top. But yeah, not bad. Again, to bring in his Dinobot counterpart. Let me tilt this up ever so slightly. There we are. Pretty similar. I mean, you can see it's the same mold painted differently. But that arm piece, the weapon, is definitely different, and the head sculpt is definitely different. But yeah, I think they both look good, but I have to say I think Guyu looks really fantastic. Up next we have Yokuryu, little pterodon or pterodactyl. Mostly white, a little bit of blue, but I think the colors look good. He does come with this ridiculously large arm piece, which you can pop this section down here, and then peg this in like so, and then this just kind of hangs down. I mean, that looks absolutely ridiculous to me, so I don't bother to do that, but it is in the direction, so I wanted to show it off. But yeah, you have the little bit of wing movement there, a little bit of wing movement at this hinge, but that's pretty much it. There's not really any other articulation. Technically, he does have little feet here, and if you wanted to stand him up, you could bring this headpiece down, but then you have the robot head just hanging out. So you either leave it like that, or I guess technically you could tilt it up, but that looks even more ridiculous. So while he does kind of have the little feet there, and you can move the head down, it really exposes the robot head, so that's kind of a bummer. But there you go. And then to do a little quick comparison with Swoop. Now, Swoop did have these smaller hand pieces that you could separate and attach to the wings as those kind of like missile pods that he had. They don't have that here because they have this gigantic piece. So that is a noted difference. But I think this is going to look a lot better in the robot mode because, again, it has that hinge and wrist rotation, which is going to be really nice when we get there. But that way he does suffer by losing the guns under the wings. So there is that. But yeah, that is Yokuryu in Dino mode. Alright, transformation is exactly the same as Swoop. So you're going to just kind of flip the legs down like so. You can flip the dino head down and then flip the robot head forward. And then just kind of bring these in and kind of peg them onto each other. Or I should say onto themselves like that. And then kind of rock them back. And then detach the arms from the body and split the legs apart. And there you go. You have Yokuryu in robot mode. Pretty good. I mean, I feel like it's definitely just Swoop's head sculpt. I don't think they did much different for this. I'll bring him in a second. But really nice paint on the helmet, the eyes, the face there. Tiny little Decepticon symbol there on the top. I guess they didn't really think it was better to put it down here. I don't know. There's not really a good spot to put it in this area because of the hinge and whatnot. So I get that. Definitely very white in this robot mode. When we bring in Swoop, I felt like there was definitely more color. I do appreciate the blue paint and the silver paint down here on the lower legs. And the silver fists looks very nice. I guess the head sculpt is, you know, more different than I thought it was. So I have to take that back. It does look pretty good. But again, Swoop had these dual blasters. Yokuryu has this giant thing where you can take the hand and swivel this and bring it down. So now the gun's on the top facing forward. And then you have to kind of straighten out the whole arm to get him to hold on to this. And it's just this giant, I don't know if you want to think of it as like a bazooka or something, but again, kind of ridiculous. It's going to really serve a good purpose and look good in Dino King mode, but unfortunately for the Dino mode and the robot mode, it falls short, and that's a bit of a bummer, but like I said, it will pay off, but unfortunately it just doesn't really work for the robot mode. But otherwise, the robot mode looks good, and you can see pretty much everything else is the same. I don't think there's been any remolding aside from the head. But, yeah, looks good. Next up, we have Kakuru. This is our rework of Slag. You can see that we have the Dino King head hanging out underneath here, just like Volcanicus's head. Volcanicus's head, yeah. Hung out there for Slag. Little hollow on the inside, but I think overall it looks pretty good. You can open the mouth a little bit if you would like. You can kind of move the head around a little bit as well. Move the legs. These can technically ratchet out to the side, and then these back legs can just spin around. But yeah, overall, pretty cool little Triceratops. If we put him here next to Slag, very, very yellow compared to Slag, but again, that will serve a purpose. And yeah, not too bad. Looks pretty good. Like I said, you can still see Volcanicus's head hanging out down there, but yeah, pretty cool. Now, one cool thing you can do in the Triceratops mode, if we kind of lift this back just a smidge so that we can kind of pop this open like so, and then push this back down. Kakuru comes with a ton of weapons. So you have this large gun, which is going to be for Dino King. You have this smaller gun, and then you have this kind of, technically they come separately in the packaging, but it's an axe blade and this piece here. So you're supposed to take this, kind of flip this up, take the gun, pop that on the top here, and then this little peg on the side for the gun will peg in like this, and then this is supposed to drop down on here and make like a giant kind of battle station almost coming out of his back there in Dino mode, which is kind of cool. So a lot of firepower going on there. Definitely looks pretty cool. So I'm definitely liking that quite a bit. But we'll take that out of there. And then we already showed him off with Slag. So we'll just go ahead and get into the transformation. You're going to end up popping these open anyway, so I'm just going to leave them for now. So going ahead with the transformation here, we're going to pop this section off, flip the legs around like so. Now the directions tell you, I think technically to like put these up like this. They love having the legs in the way of the thigh. Technically you can put them like this if you want. I always like to kind of put them like this, just because I felt like it gave extra heels and helped stand. So that's what I always did. It's your preference, honestly, whatever you want to do. You'll leave these up. You'll spin this around like this, utilizing that ratchet so you can reveal the fists. And then this is just going to pop down like that. Now, again, if you don't like this look and you want to put this down, if you feel like that's a little bit more faithful to the original character, definitely an option, whatever you want to do there. I personally just like to leave them flipped out, so I'm going to do that. But again, I think that head sculpt is fantastic. Really, really nice job there. Decepticon symbol on the chest looks amazing, which is something that Slag did not get. If we bring Slag in here, I was always feeling like he was missing an Autobot symbol there, and so I'm really glad that Kakuru got that treatment and got the Decepticon symbol there. And as far as weapons go, you can see Slag has his goofy little tail blaster, and if you want to use that, you absolutely can. Or you can just take it and store it on the back with this peg hole that's now exposed, so you can get that out of the way, so you can bring in some real weapons. We have that giant gun, which we're going to go ahead and pop in this hand, and then we're going to take the gun from here, spin it to the side, spin down the blade of the axe, and then we're going to give him a giant axe weapon, which is remarkably cooler than that sad tail blaster thing that Slag has. And I know I said that the heels were supposed to help him stand, but he's not cooperating. Let me push them down a little bit. There we go. And we'll get Slag to cooperate here. So, nothing against Slag. I think Slag looks perfectly good, but obviously with the better weapons, I think Kakuru is going to win this one. Plus, I love that Decepticon symbol because I always felt like Slag needed one there on the chest, and he didn't get one. And I was always bummed about that. So that has been corrected here. So I think this round definitely has to go to Kakuru. Really, really just, I love the head sculpt. I love the weapons. I love that Decepticon symbol. Last but certainly not least, we have Dodo. Definitely giving me Overkill vibes. I know it's not the same dinosaur, but the color scheme's just there. The gold paint on the eye. I don't know why. It's just what I think of right away. But of course, we have our Stegosaurus here. And then just to do a quick comparison with Snarl, you can see again that it is the same mold, just differently painted. But I think it totally works. Even though, like, you know, all of this section is blue, I think it's totally fine. The tail, you know, you have some of these Stego plates on white, some on blue. Doesn't matter. I still think it looks good. All in all, pretty happy with that. Now you can see Snarl came with the little sword. And of course, we do have that here as well for Dodo, but we're actually going to store that here on the bottom this time. Going to just pop that in there. You don't really need it because we have this massive scythe weapon, and that's going to peg in on top instead and look absolutely ridiculous, but in the best way possible. And then they tell you just to, you know, just rotate that down. Like, that's going to somehow make it blend into the rest of the Dino mode. But it's fantastic. It's just so big and ridiculous, and I love it. And that's amazing. So, I mean, if you want to put the sword on here, like with Snarl, you absolutely can. But they have you stored underneath, so you can use this ridiculously gigantic thing. And that's just super fun. Alright, I've removed both weapons, so we can go ahead and get into Dodo's transformation. So you're going to kind of rock this part forward and start to flip this about here. Then you're going to have to split this straight down the middle, and then you're actually going to rotate the head back into the leg. So take the dino head half and pop that in there, and then straighten this out. Then you're going to unhook the arms and bring them down, and then you're going to pop open, split down the center, the tail, and bring this around, and then spin the head around. Now, with Snarl, you brought these to about here, which you can do. The directions tell you to keep going. And I will say it's a little scary because you can see how much that butts right up against that. But you can kind of keep going and it'll eventually sneak past. And then they tell you to put them at like a 90-degree angle like that. So it's a little scary, and over time, I don't know what that's going to do, but that's how they want you to have those. So, again, your discretion. You want to leave them out like Snarl, you absolutely can. You can put them like that if you so choose. Head sculpt looks pretty good. I like that. Nice Decepticon symbol. It is a little lost on the dark blue. I kind of wish it had like a white outline or maybe a black outline or something, because the purple gets a little lost there, but I still appreciate it. Head can swivel. You have ball joint here in the shoulder. You have hinge here in the arm. You have a waist swivel here. Ball joint in the hips. Pretty good movement there. I mean, technically you have a 180-degree bend in the knee, but I doubt you'd ever utilize that for the robot mode. And then there's nothing in the ankle. That's one solid piece. But yeah, definitely cool. Now if we give him his ridiculously massive scythe weapon, we can go ahead and pop that in this hand, and then also give him the sword in the other hand. So he is ready to go. He is ready for battle. Now if we bring Snarl in here, again, you can see it is the same mold, and you can see it has that molded out section, and I always felt like he was sorely missing an Autobot symbol there. So they did correct that here, even though it gets a little lost on the blue, but still happy to have it. And Dodo looks great. I love the weapons. I love the color scheme. The new head looks fantastic. And yeah, just all in all, really nicely done. So now that we have all 6 of them together, let's go ahead and form Dino King. Alright, we'll start here with our 2 legs in Dodo and Guyu. I will take all of their accessories out of their hands, like so. We will take Gudu's legs and snap them together. This section here will flip up. You have to flip up this little section here as well. Bring this around. Now, technically, the directions, and again, it's always with these weird wing pieces here. They want you to fold one of them up because there is a little notch. You can see there's a little notch right there, and there's a little notch out right there, and they want you to put this up like this. You have a couple options. Technically, you could put both of them up like this, which is what I like to use to do with the Dinobots set. But technically, you could do that. You could leave these down on the side. Like, you could put this down. And let me bring the arms around so they're not in the way. But you could bring this down and kind of just tuck these like this. You have a couple options. So they want you to do one like this and the other one facing forward. I like symmetry, so I either do them both flat or I do them both up. It's up to you. But you bring this around. This is going to connect in there. And then once these are together, there's a tiny little spot right here that will kind of go into that little slot right there. So that goes like so. bring this down, and then you're going to take this piece and just peg it in here on the back. And for Grimlock, you would be done. But we are going to take, let me remove them from Ryu here. Ryu, not Ryu from Street Fighter. We're going to take these pieces, and these go towards the outside. So you can see that there's kind of like a little eye attachment there, and there's a section right there, and you drop this down, and it should kind of perfectly cradle the assembly. You can see how it's like molded to perfectly fit this, which is absolutely awesome. And now we get a foot with ankle tilt. So that's that done. Then we're going to take Dodo, and we're going to have to bring these back around, which I don't love. It's even worse when you're coming back on this side. I don't know how much I was going to say how much more I'm going to be doing that, because it really doesn't like it. But bring that around and snap those together like so. Then we are going to remove this back piece like this. These are going to snap together. We're going to leave the dinosaur heads hidden in the legs. And then this is going to come up, and these two tabs right here are going to peg in there where the back piece used to be. And that's going to just snap in like that. These are going to fold forward. And you can see that these will kind of peg into each other like this. And then these tabs, you can see here on the forearms, will actually tab into this crotch plate here. And so you kind of bring these down, and I don't have this lined up well at all, but there we go. That'll kind of nicely snap in there. And then you're going to take this piece, and you can see that there are two pegs right there, and that's going to peg on to there, like so. And also make sure you flip this connector around, because that will be important. And then again, you have the little spot there for that eye connector. And this is going to drop in there like so. And again, it's kind of perfectly molded to the leg there, which is really nice. And I have tried to engage the ankle tilt in the wrong direction, so don't do that. But there you go, we got ankle tilt. So there are our two legs. Next up, we'll do the two arms, and remember that we're going to need this piece as well. So I'm going to take this. We'll start here with Guyu. Now, the directions tell you to take this, and let's see, what do they want me to do? I think they want me to leave it like this. They want me to put these up here like this. They want me to put the arms together like this. Utilizing that shoulder movement there to peg these back together. And then I think this is supposed to go up here, and this is supposed to go down like this. And then you just have this mess of an arm, and this thing kind of pegs on here. I still feel like this connection is the weakest. It's not the best, but this is the arm that you're supposed to have. I like elbows, so what I do, I move these up, I pull this back so I can tilt this up, I bring this around, and first of all, I take these and I put them back where they should be all along, just like in the robot mode, I leave them there. Then I bring this up like this. You're going to have to bring this up because this is going to come and rest. And so the only caveat with this is it gives you an elbow, but now you can only ever have him at like a 45-degree angle. You can't put this arm straight down. So it's up to you. But close this back up like this. This will kind of perfectly, these arms will perfectly fit around the leg like that. And then you can utilize this to rotate the wrist. And again, it's not perfect. You still have a lot of hollow space here, but at least it's got an elbow now with the ball joints. Plus you have the joint movement here with the wrist swivel, which is nice. So this is how I prefer to set up the arm. If you want to do it the way the directions tell you, you can, but then you'll kind of have this piece turned around. I just don't think it looks as good. Coming over here to Yokoryu, gonna do something kind of similar. So put the head back. This will go up like this. Now the directions, I think you have to open these up temporarily to kind of get them out of the way. You're going to rotate this. We're going to spin the waist 180 degrees and then connect that together. And I think, again, they want you to put it like this and then connect this hand piece here which this one actually connects really nicely. It's got 2 connections here, and then it's got the cutouts up here. So this goes on here and just connects in perfectly, and it's bigger. There's almost no empty space. You can rotate the hand. Like, this connection is great. This arm is really nice. I love what they did with this. Now, I think I rotated this the wrong way, so apologies. I think they want you to do like this, and they want you to put it like that. Again, I'd rather have an elbow, so I'm going to rotate it like this, rotate the wrist like this. You're supposed to spin these around so that these point back, and then pop these down and peg them in like you're doing the Dino mode. And then you have a couple options. If you like the look of that out like that, if you want to kind of bring these in and fold these in. And again, it's going to get in the way of the leg there, so you can kind of do something a little bit like that. It's up to you. These might not fit as nicely as they could because this is now here instead of facing this way. But I personally just think this is such a better look. And I forgot to get this out while it was easy, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, there we go. So, personally, that's what I like. I have an elbow here. I have the same movement with the wrist and everything, but I like it to look like he's got an elbow. So, this is how I position the 2 arms. And then last, but, well, kind of least, we're going to do Ryu and Kakuru. So, once again, I'm going to take the weapons out of his hand and remove this section here. We are going to fold up the dino mouth. We are going to spin these around like this. We are going to put these together and then spin this around and kind of bring the dino legs around as you go. You can spin them around in whatever direction you like, but they should end up kind of straight back, just kind of hanging out. Then you're going to take this and bring it back, and you can see that there's the tiniest little notch right there for the tiniest little tab. And this is going to go back and notch in there. So notch that in, and then leave this like this, and we're pretty much ready to go. We are going to take Ryu here, and we are going to swivel this around, move the arms out of the way. You're going to actually just put the arms straight up like this, but also kind of fold them out like that. Then you're going to swivel around like this, bring this up, and you can see that there's a tiny little notch in the leg. You can see that right there. And that is going to notch onto this. So this is going to come up and kind of pop on there like that. So do the same thing, spin this, bring this around, pop it on the notch, and then that's pretty much ready to go. You're going to take the leftover piece here from Kakuru, pop this out, which of course will be our dino head, or Dino King head, I should say. And then that's going to pop onto the chest like so. You're going to take this, the head will drop into this hollow cavity here, while these 2 pegs will pop into the 2 holes on the side of his head. And then this this little peg right here will pop into there for a little bit of extra stability. So this will drop down and connect at those 3 places. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're in. Then you're going to put these arms up. You can see that there is a little hole in the side of the forearm, which is going to peg onto there. So that's a nice little bit of added stability. Popping that on. And then there is the tiniest little tab on here that will actually tab into the fists. And so that's even more stability. And then we're going to take our Dino King head and pop that in here. And that just, I love the head sculpt for this. The helmet's beautiful. The red eyes are perfect. The expression's amazing. The silver paint on the head, that just came out perfect. I think that looks so good. So let's go ahead and finish this combination. So we will connect our legs. We have our connectors and the connection spots right here. And sometimes they like to move around while you're doing this, but you can go ahead and get it in there and pop this on there like that. And at this point, I like to kind of widen this out and engage the ankle tilt. I've done this again. I swear I was playing with this earlier and I did not have this many issues with this popping off all the time, but the ankle tilt's just a little tight, so There we go. We can kind of move this, utilize those knee joints. There we go. And then connecting the arms is very simple. You have those peg holes there on the side, and that just pops in. And then we pop the other one in as well. And there we go. We have Dino King. He looks great. I think they really did a nice job. I think the added feet with the ankle tilt is a big deal. These pieces, I think, are so much better than Volcanicus, like especially over here. This looks like a solid, complete arm. That looks great. If only they could have found a way to maybe make this... I know it would have looked goofy in the Dino mode because it's supposed to be the tail, but some way to fill this in would have been really nice. But either way, it still kind of works. We do have some weapons, so we're going to take a few pieces here. So this was the axe from Kakuru, and we're going to remove this gun piece. We're going to take the other gun from Kakuru, and we're going to put this over here, almost like a second gun bayonet. And then we are going to put this gun in this hand here. And then the coolest thing, we're going to take the scythe weapon. We're going to take the axe weapon. This is going to drop down in here. We are going to take the little sword. We're going to pop that in the top. And then we're going to take the club and add that here. And you get this really amazing axe weapon. And then this is going to pop into this hand. So this is awesome. I love the giant axe weapon. All of their weapons really work well together. I mean, we've seen things in the past where you combine a bunch of weapons to make a larger weapon and it looks goofy. This looks cohesive, like it's supposed to be this the whole time. The way this piece like drops in here. Now, granted, the scythe weapon looks a little awkward on its own because it should probably be connected down here instead of just floating up here, but it's fine because for this to drop in so seamlessly, it just works. I love that weapon. I think the gun looks cool as well. Articulation-wise, not too dissimilar from Volcanicus. The head can turn side to side. You can see you have kind of a waist swivel there. You can move this because, again, anything you're just pegging in, of course, that can move around. Now, the way I've done this, again, you have an elbow. You have a movement here. This piece pops off all the time, unfortunately, but you have this hinge here. You also have a swivel in the wrist, which is something that the Volcanicus did not have wrist swivels. You pop this back on. I wish that would connect a little better. This one connects so perfectly. I mean, you have this elbow. It's a little tight, but it's there. You have this movement. You have the wrist swivel again. We talked about the waist swivel. Again, these ratchets, you know, I mean, they don't really click, but they're meant to be like ratchets. You can kick forward. The way this connects, of course, you have this thigh swivel here, and this keeps moving on me, but you have this knee movement. Technically, you have a swivel at the knee as well where that connects. You have the ankle tilt. It's great. I think he looks really cool. Now, again, to bring Volcanicus back in here, so you can see them next to each other. Now, this is the way I have these. I have these the way I have these arms. And you can see how hollow this is and how goofy this looks. So with this one, you do kind of want to put it the way Hasbro wants it, which is to kind of straighten this out and then just kind of fold these in. And then I guess I'll have to move these out of the way and move this up so I can swivel this back. And then I can kind of push these down. And I mean, I guess that's fine, but it just looks so much worse. I just think giving him elbows is such a better idea. And honestly, the only problem I have at all with this is this arm connection piece. It doesn't stay on. Like, don't get me wrong. If I move it, it's not going to fall off. But like as soon as I try to turn anything or touch anything, it tends to pop off. You can pop it right back on. I just wish they had done something, even if it was just a piece that wasn't utilized anywhere else, that kind of filled this space and just really connected on solidly. I would have liked that better. But this one works perfectly. The feet work great. The ankle tilt's amazing. The colors are right on. The head sculpt's amazing. Dino King came out great. And, like, this had to walk so this could run, honestly. Like, of course they're going to do it first. I think this was the plan the whole time. Because, like I said, there is no Dinobot Ankylosaurus. But, you know, Guyu exists here as an Ankylosaurus as part of the Dino Force. So, of course, they're going to do it as the Dinobots first. That's so much more popular here in America. Whereas, you know, Dino King is not super well known. But I'm so glad they followed through and did this because it's a vast improvement. I mean, the feet alone make it. The weapons are so much better. The head sculpt's better. The paint's obviously a little better because it's a kind of a premium thing. Yeah, it's really great. Of course, I have to pose him here with the other characters we have from Victory in Deathsaurus and Victory Saber. Obviously, while these two are very nicely proportioned with each other, Dino King is much, much smaller. And we knew this going in. I mean, given the size of Volcanicus, I knew he wasn't going to suddenly, double in size. But I feel like there were times on the show where Dino King fought Star Saber. And if I think about, kind of removing maybe 2 inches or so with taking off the Victory Leo parts, it's still going to be, not quite the correct size, but maybe he'll be like only a head taller, maybe something like that, and so it might not be too bad. So I think that's interesting. Like, he kind of might be decently scaled with Star Saber, certainly not Victory Saber, but I think that's kind of cool. I would love for them to do Landcross like this, because Landcross is also like 6 smaller robots, and then we could have Dino King fighting Landcross, and I think those two could be perfectly proportioned with each other. I think that could be a lot of fun. I mean, Landcross with the Multiforce, it's 6 small robots that can kind of become 3 like slightly larger robots, because 2 combine and you can mix and match those combinations, and then all 6 go together to form Landcross. So I think that could be a ton of fun to be, proportionate here with Dino King, and then give us Leo Zarek in proportion with Road Caesar. And that's pretty much your whole cast of Victory, if I'm being honest. Like, that's pretty much all you need. And so we're about halfway there. We need 3 more, but these look great together, and I'm so happy to have these. I really like this set a lot. I think they did a really nice job with this. I think this was definitely the plan from the beginning. I totally understand that doing them as the Dinobots made total sense for mass retail, but I'm so glad they followed through and did this as a Pulsecon exclusive, because I think it allowed them to add a little bit more love to it. You can tell that there's more paint applications, there's extra accessories, there's other things that really just make this guy stand out. The feet are a really nice addition. It gives them ankle tilt, which is fantastic. All the extra weapons, the gun, the sword pieces, the club, and everything that become the giant axe, absolutely phenomenal. I love the sculpt for Dino King's head. I love the sculpt of all the individual Dino Force member heads. I think they all really did a nice job with that. Paint applications. Like I said, the only thing I really have to complain about this entire set is the little arm connection there. I think it's definitely a step up from what we got with the Dinobots, but I still think that it could be a little bit better, and so I just wish they could have done a little bit more with that. But again, I understand it has to be the tail and dino mode, so it's kind of like, a thin line to walk. You have to compromise so that it can work in both modes. So again, I get it, and like I said, it's a minor nitpick. I still think this is a fantastic set. If you're a fan of Victory, if you have a way to get this for not too expensive, or if Hasbro still has it up, I'm not sure, but I definitely recommend this set. I think this is really, really cool. And like I said, we're about halfway through with the Victory cast. We just need him to follow through a little bit more, and it's really great. I'm really excited for it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a long one, so thanks for sticking through to the end if you did. And as always, thanks so much for watching.